Asia Tech Podcast. Voice of the Asian tech ecosystem.
Welcome to Ashley Talks podcast. This is Ashley Galina Dudarenok, and we have an extremely exciting guest today. We have Chris J. Reed with us, the LinkedIn master, and we're going to be talking about personal branding, LinkedIn marketing, and having fun when doing business here in Asia. Chris, welcome to the show.
Fantastic, Ashley. Great to be on the show.
Chris, we've been connected on LinkedIn for many years, and just a couple of weeks back, we basically met each other in person here in Hong Kong. It was fantastic meeting you. And just tell us the story. I thought it was really fascinating. From a serial entrepreneur back far from Asia, you arrived, and right now you're basically taking Asia, LinkedIn, and the whole world by storm.
Well, yeah, I came to Asia because I was sick of the sun. I had no sun in the UK. I was paying lots of tax. Depression time, 2008, 2009. So you came over to Asia, and suddenly everything's bright and wonderful and entrepreneurial. Singapore has the best airport in the world, has the lowest tax rates, has the best environment, has the best weather, has the best girls. Everything's fantastic about Singapore. I just love it. It's very entrepreneurial. I can come to Hong Kong and see people like you, be inspired by people like you, and it's a couple of hours, like literally 3 hours, and it's easy. I can go to Sydney, I can go to Bangkok, I can go to Shanghai, and it's so easy. The whole of Asia is just an entrepreneurial hub. So using LinkedIn to reach out to these people is the best way of arranging meetings and connecting and engaging. That's why it's wonderful to meet you after like 3 or 4 years of being connected, and then suddenly you meet people. That's the way it works all the time. It's beautiful that way.
That's absolutely fantastic. And I just must ask this question. Basically, we now know that you are the LinkedIn master. You've got 500 connections on LinkedIn. You wrote
500 recommendations.
Books. Yeah, recommendations.
55,000 followers. Yeah.
Followers, 55,000 followers. Crazy. And look at this. I've got your book right here. You are an author of 2 best-selling books. You also have not just one, but multiple companies that are doing like LinkedIn training and actually managing LinkedIn for customers. I must ask why your first introduction sentence says the only CEO with a Mohawk. Tell me about it. What's up with it? Why that hairstyle?
It's all about personal branding.
Asia Tech Podcast. Find out more at atp.show.
Literally about personal branding. I mean, I live in Singapore. It's a very conservative country. So I come over here with kind of spiky hair, and then I kind of like do a few things with it. I have a bit of a mohawk. It's like this big. And then people said to me, "Oh, you have a little mohawk. That's really, really cool." I'm going, "That's interesting." People are noticing if I just changed the hairstyle a bit and be slightly out of the ordinary. So then I took the example and just extremely grow it. And then I use different colors and all the rest of it. People love it. People can see me going down the street, they love it. People see me in airport lounges, they love it. People see me in malls, they love it, all across Asia. Oh, you're the Mohawk guy, you're the LinkedIn guy, Mr. Mohawk, Mr. LinkedIn. And it's fantastic. It's all about personal branding, but I use it as a demonstration about how every single person has a Mohawk. Not literally, but figuratively. You have one, I have one. Jens and Jay have one from last week, for example. Every single person has something which makes them stand out and go, "Wow, Ashley's fantastic at this. She can do this for you. You're always bright and bubbly and very happy and wear red all the time." Right? Twice now. Fantastic energy. It's wonderful. But everyone's got something. So it's just about, an icebreaker as well. When I go to networking events, people want to touch the Mohawk, talk about the Mohawk. Why have we got a Mohawk? Fantastic icebreaker. It really is. And it crosses over. I met Prince Charles, and all he wanted to talk about was my Mohawk kind of thing, the future King of England. And that's what I mean. It breaks down barriers. It's fantastic.
No, that's absolutely beautiful. I'm now actually considering what to do with my hair because I've got a long braid. And after I saw you talk and basically I connected the dots, I thought, you know what? A lot of people, when they see me, they say, "Wow, your hair's really long and you've got this long braid." So I'm now thinking, okay, you know what? I need to put all over my social profiles. I just need to put that braided picture of me, not with hair up, but down. Let me actually use it. So no, that's fantastic. So that idea came to you after people started noticing it.
Yes, correct. Because it's all about personal branding. It's like, how do you stand out in Asia? And then it was obviously, because I like standing out, obviously that's part of my kind of like personal branding. That's why I wear my rock t-shirts. I've got a Queen t-shirt on today. Last week I had a Kiss t-shirt, a Sex Pistols t-shirt, and a Nirvana t-shirt, and a Joker t-shirt. It's just part of the personal branding. And I wear ripped jeans and Doc Martens, and I'm just being myself. And people either take that or they don't. So that's why I firmly, passionately believe about personal branding. You should actually not put on a picture or not pretend to be who you're not, who just to impress somebody. Actually just be yourself. And people will be much more genuinely with you. And it's easy to build a relationship with a person if you actually genuinely think they are a genuine, interesting and compelling person, not actually putting on a front or changing things, or not the real person. They're putting on a front because they want to win your sale. Or I just go into meetings and basically people buy into me or not, as the case may be. And I don't care. As long as the people who basically want to work with me kind of know that this is genuinely me, then that's what I want to do, is build relationships up with people who basically take me for who I am, in the same way that actually that should be the world round. But it's not. When you work for a multinational, it's all about you have to wear a suit and put your hair down and not wear any facial hair and have no tattoos, and you're not yourself. So that's corporate life. We're entrepreneurs, Ashley, so we can do what the fuck we want.
Of course, and that's why I'm here in my living room at 2:00 in the afternoon speaking with you, and this is fantastic. Nice. Absolutely. And you just said that some people don't take it very well. You said you're living in Singapore. I mean, this is Asia, and they don't see a lot of, let's say, variety and character, especially at workplace. What was were there some uncomfortable situations, or how do you approach them? How do you, get over them?
Well, not uncomfortable for me, uncomfortable for them. I mean, literally, a good example is this building. This building is really good. So this is Capital Tower. JP Morgan are in this tower. So I get in the lift, okay, with my I had a Sex Pistols t-shirt and my Mohawk, ripped jeans, and I get in the lift, and what the person in the lift with me didn't realize is that one of my colleagues was in the lift, was next to him. And he made the comment, how did he get in this building, kind of thing. And my colleague overheard him and said, he's my CEO, actually. And you could just see him going, what do you mean he's a CEO? How could he be a CEO when he's dressed like that, kind of thing? And just that's the mentality of someone who works at JP Morgan. It's just like really closed-minded. You have to wear a suit to suddenly do the work. It's like, no, that's not the way the world works anymore. It's all about people. It's all about personal branding. It's all about you being yourself. And you should have seen the look on this guy's face. The colour drained out, and my team member was just like, got you there, mate.
You are definitely the most memorable CEO that I know as well. And this is beautiful. And this is absolutely beautiful. So let's go back to LinkedIn. You started this whole empire, training empire and consultant empire and digital marketing empire, all linked and unified basically by one platform, correct. LinkedIn. So why have you chosen that?
So very easy question to that is when I came to Asia, I did not know anybody. So 10 years ago, I came to Asia, did not know a single person. I only had 200 connections on LinkedIn. And so I used those connections to say, who do you know in Singapore? They introduced me to people in Singapore. I got my first, my second, and my third jobs by connecting with people for jobs that did not exist. So merely by networking, they say, you've got skills, I need, get this job. Those jobs were marketing jobs. So those marketing jobs meant I had to contact people in Hong Kong, in China, in India, Japan, in Australia. How else do you do that but LinkedIn? At the time, no one was using LinkedIn for sales. They were using LinkedIn for recruitment. But I was thinking, if you could use this for recruitment, you could use this for sales. I can find the CEO, I can find the CMO, and sure enough, that's what happened. I reached out, they said yes. And then people started saying to me, why don't you train me to use LinkedIn? Why don't you use my LinkedIn? Why don't you, I'll pay you to do your LinkedIn, to do my LinkedIn. And so obviously as an entrepreneur in the UK, I needed a business over here. So I was thinking, what can I do? It came to me, I could just launch a LinkedIn business. And we've literally gone from, one person to, 25 people. We have 4 different brands now doing 7 different things, but all, as you said, anchored around LinkedIn.
That's absolutely beautiful. And how many years ago was that?
I launched Black Marketing 5 years ago.
5 years ago. So 5 years ago, people were still not using LinkedIn to its full potential. They were still using it as a recruitment platform.
They're not using it now, Ashley. Even now, to this day, they're not using it. That's why those talks I did last week, I did 3 talks in Hong Kong last week to like 300 people. Every single person goes, wow, I didn't know LinkedIn could do that. Wow, I didn't know LinkedIn could do that. That's because no one explains what LinkedIn can do. That's why I do these many talks. I do the content. I do the book to put the stuff out there saying, this is what LinkedIn does. You can do this yourself. It's not rocket science. But if you don't have the time, come to us and me and my team will do it for you.
So why is it so important for business people? Employment aside, and what can people actually do there?
So it's personal branding. It's basically about, people buy into you, people buy into me. And through that, we can market our companies. We can attract talent. We can attract investment. We can attract clients. And you can identify through things like the Sales Navigator platform on LinkedIn, for example, individual clients who you want to go after. So all my meetings last week were set up. I had 30 meetings in Hong Kong last week, all created by Sales Navigator. That's me reaching out to them, saying, I'm in Hong Kong. I want to talk to you about your LinkedIn, your personal branding. Come and see me at the Ritz-Carlton in Hong Kong. and 30 people did. And we won 6 clients last week, and we'll win more clients as a result of those people we met last week who basically weren't instantaneously become our clients. Because it all came through LinkedIn, it all came through content marketing, it all came through basically putting your thoughts out there, engaging. I'm genuinely engaging real content, something about LinkedIn, something about personal banks, sometimes not at all about it. Something about Hong Kong.
A lot of people, when they think about LinkedIn, they also, and business development, they think about maintaining their company page, right? And we spoke about it last week, and you were saying it's always about your CEO. It's always about putting the face on it and basically building a human being out of him, or building a CEO out of that human being, right? On LinkedIn, turning him into an expert. What are those elements that people actually need to understand about the platform? Like, what will work, what wouldn't work? If they currently do not have a strong profile and they are just beginning to do corporate branding.
From a personal branding point of view, they need to basically put their personal brand up there. As you said, they need to put their CEO up there. Their founder, their CEO needs to be on LinkedIn, need to be leading by example. So get out there, talk about things, do thought leadership, put your content out there, curate content, connect with people you meet, connect with people you engage with, and then share content on your company page, share content from your page, and then use the sales navigator to kind of reach out and actually connect and actually generate sales. If you're an SME, you're an entrepreneur, you need to get on Sales Navigator and generate the leads yourself. But you need a complete profile. I'm amazed people don't use the background picture, or don't use the content, don't use the summary section, don't use it, because it's all optimized. It's all search engine optimized. It's all optimized on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a search engine, just like Google is. So if you don't put your keywords in, then you won't be found. And you go, no one's finding me, no one's finding me. That's because you're not optimizing your profile. You must optimize your profile.
That's absolutely beautiful. And so I know a couple of companies, and they say, you know what, we want to do LinkedIn marketing, but our CEO is really not that, he's not people's person. He's not that interesting, or sometimes it's a big corporation and they don't have a CEO. I mean, CEO is back in Germany or in US, and they only have a manager who also doesn't feel comfortable representing a company to that extent. What advice would you give them?
They have to get over themselves and get on LinkedIn, basically. They have no excuse. They are the leaders. They are the CEOs. And we come across this. It's quite an Asian thing, because it's quite a cultural thing in Asia. They don't want to be there. They don't want to say, and there's a team event. But I'm sorry, but people look up to leaders here, there, everywhere. Look at China at the moment. You look up to the leader. You look up Singapore, your PM Lee here, you look up to the leader. Philippines, Bangkok, it's all about leaders. Australia, it's all about leaders. So people look up to leaders, and the best example is Richard Branson. Richard Branson markets all his brands through LinkedIn because of his blogging and his content and his entrepreneurial zeal and how he gets out there and what he actually does. He's not a natural leader. He's an introvert. You see him speak, he bumbles, he's dyslexic. So if someone like Richard Branson can do it, you can do it too. Every single person can do it. And the people that will do it, which will only be about 5% of people, will shine above, will punch above their weight about everybody else. And everybody else, we're down there complaining they're not winning business, complaining they're not winning investment, complaining they can't attract employees, when they have the same opportunity. They can use social media too. They just choose not to do so. So you have to divorce your personal from your professional. This is professional. You have to say, from the professional point of view, I need to put my own brand out there to attract talent, to win clients. Personally, different. Put that on Facebook, do something else with it. That's your introverted side. This is your extroverted professional side. And you need to divorce the two. People don't really understand they need to divorce the two. And that's the biggest hurdle between people using us. Because they say, I'm going to get too much publicity. I'm going to get too much publicity. Yes, you want that because you're leading from example. It's like, that's the KPI we measure ourselves on. How much engagement you get, how many clients you win, how much attention you do get from a professional point of view. And that's the key. It's professional, Ashley.
That's beautiful. And in the past 5 years, all social platforms have undergone this transformation. And this is a beautiful point that you're making. Okay, what you're publishing on LinkedIn or Instagram is definitely not appropriate for LinkedIn. Vice versa, right? Yeah. But all of the platforms went through significant transformation. And, Instagram is beyond recognizable. And Facebook is two very different algorithms. It's much more difficult to market. LinkedIn has also gone through some transformations in the past 5 years. What are they? Well,
obviously being bought by Microsoft, which is a big transformation. So they're much more, they've got financial stability behind them. They have infrastructure behind them. The Sales Navigator platform was created, designed for people who are using LinkedIn like me for sales and marketing, but had no platform. We're using Recruiter. We're using the main LinkedIn platform. So Sales Navigator is the biggest thing. And then it's also become a publishing platform. So now you can really share content. You can share your blogs, your short posts. You can share your videos, every single thing through LinkedIn. So it's now a content engine. It's a social selling engine. It's not merely a recruitment engine. And we don't do anything in recruitment. We don't do the recruitment side at all. We don't even touch it. We focus completely on your personal branding, your employer branding, your social selling, and your content marketing. And they're the assets that really, really taken off now on LinkedIn.
And talking about articles publishing, so a lot of people also ask, you know what, I've got this post, and that's very clear. I've got this little, let's call it timeline, and I can publish short posts, and I can repost other people's stuff so that they understand. And then they have this weird section which says publish your own article, and then they put it out there, and then nothing happens. Most of the people do not understand how it works. It doesn't feel that they're getting exposure. So what is this article function? Why is it so important? And why are you teaching a lot of your clients to actually use it constantly on regular basis, once a week minimum?
So basically the article section used to be the blogging section on LinkedIn, used to be notified to everybody. Now they've changed it. So now you have to do short posts, which basically get in the feed, videos get in the feed, but articles now you can use strategically. So you can now keep articles there. So I put my more strategic articles there about my company, for example, about what the company does, about me, about my personal branding there, because it stays there. Whereas your short posts and everything else on your feed disappears. So you have to use them one tactically, one strategically. And that's why your thought leadership is like a library of all your blogs, but it's kept on LinkedIn. And then you take some examples of that and put it as a short post to direct people back to your long post on LinkedIn. So it's a whole content marketing strategy. And you really need to just think about it rather than approach it from a haphazard point of view. You have to plan it out, how many videos, how many pictures. You know, the event like your video from last week is still going viral. I still get notifications, people saying people have liked the video you took of me last week and the picture we took and the picture other people took as well. That's fantastic. That's a great example. People love to see people in action. People love to see videos of people in action giving genuine tips about how to use, for example, a social media platform like LinkedIn. And that's the key. Do a mix of both. So I use that as a long form post, as I use it as a short form post. The long form because it will stay there. So clients and personal and people look at my profile can read it. But the short form on a tactical basis, at that moment in time, it was trending, but now it disappeared and someone else will transfer into it instead. So you have to use it in different ways. You have to really think about it.
And just now you mentioned viral. That word is a catchword for all marketers and entrepreneurs. I mean, everybody who's on social networks, they just want to go viral. And on many platforms, that's just not possible, right? It just doesn't work. Like right now, you can barely go viral on Facebook, again, because of a different algorithm, unless you have a lot of money. So on LinkedIn, what is going viral? How many likes, views, comments is actually viral? And is it possible to get there organically?
Yes, I don't do advertising on LinkedIn, don't do sponsored posts on LinkedIn, don't do sponsored articles on LinkedIn. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of money. They charge 10 times what Facebook does, and it's a complete waste of money. Don't do it. And it'll go viral if your quality is good and if you engage properly and if you're actually out there. But actually, it's less important on LinkedIn. It's more about quality than quantity. I'd rather have 10 CEOs or 10 entrepreneurs read my articles or watch my videos and then come to me afterwards and go, you know what, you made some good points there. I'd like to talk about you, about your service. I don't want 10,000 people on Facebook or Instagram or WeChat looking at it and doing nothing because they have no money because they're students or they're unemployed or they're retired or they're kids. That does me no good whatsoever. I'm not after numbers. I want quality. And that's what everyone on LinkedIn has to realize. It's not a numbers game. It's about the quality of those people.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. So in terms of going viral, I was going through my LinkedIn profile and noticed that more and more people are publishing those posts in my feed about basically they start with a catchy phrase like BuzzFeed, right? They start with I could have been fired for that, and then they go to the next line and they start those poem and rhymes, and it just goes and goes and goes, and it goes to reach tens of thousands of people. And to be very honest, it's a little bit like, you know, watching semi-naked pictures on Facebook, just weird stuff, or kitty cats, right? Something that for no reason, at least from my point of view, gets a lot of views and reach. So what's going on with LinkedIn on that front? Have you also noticed those posts?
Oh, of course I've noticed. Everyone's noticed it, but I hide all those people. I unfollow those people. I hide all those feeds because they just annoy me to bits. They just annoy me because they make no sense. I don't care if you were fired this job, what you have to do, but they are the people who do it are doing it obviously for a reason, to get their name out there, to get content running, and they're using the algorithm to do that. And the LinkedIn algorithm has changed. It used to be about long form posts, now it's about short form posts. LinkedIn now prioritize that kind of post. So yeah, by all means, you can get 10,000, you can get 20,000, you get 100,000 views by doing that. But again, it comes down to quality. I'd rather, for example, I shared a video from a talk I did on Friday at the BritCham on LinkedIn, attended a 5-minute segment about Sales Navigator on LinkedIn. And I got 10,000 views, 10,000 people viewing it. Fantastic. I shared the same thing on YouTube and I got 1,000. Now, I'd rather have 10,000 on LinkedIn where I can see the people who liked, shared, and commented. And those people were engaging with me saying, that's interesting because I didn't know that. Having a conversation about the benefits of Sales Navigator over Executive and Premium and Recruiter, rather than thousands of people on YouTube who basically, I don't even know who they are. And I proved that basically this kind of content works very well on LinkedIn. If you have a good profile, if you have good personal branding, people trust your content, rather than YouTube, it just gets completely lost. So I use YouTube as a platform that I use, take the videos and I put them on my profile. So they have a substance because currently at the moment, you can't put the native video on your summary section or experience section. You can only put it on the feed on LinkedIn, which is an important distinction where obviously on YouTube, it just stays in your YouTube channel. So I use that just to feed LinkedIn's summary section, experience section. So you can use the two. But it's not about going viral and those short posts. You have to be quite careful. You're not just basically taking advantage of something and then people basically, you lose credibility as a result of it. So I don't actually do those. And actually, interesting, I wrote a post about how I didn't like those in that format, and I got like 40,000 people liking it. And it's like, oh. I just kind of
you did it. So now you did it.
I proved that it basically works. But then all the people who commented saying, yes, I don't like this either. I don't like this either. So basically, it just proved the fact that nobody else liked it too. But you have to really think through what you're trying to achieve from this content. Are you just joining a bandwagon? I could see a guy on there. He basically, a guy I know in Australia got 2 million views for a video he shared, but the video he shared was an Elon Musk video. And it's like anyone could have shared that and got 2 million views. And I'm thinking, well, what's the point? Great, got 2 million views. But what's the objective? What did you actually achieve? Did those people become your clients? Did they invest in your company? What was the objective? Just getting 2 million views for the same of it, it's just vanity metrics. If you really want that, you just go on something like WeChat or Instagram, and you could easily send it viral. You can get bots, you can get AI to do all that stuff. On LinkedIn, it's more genuine. So it's much more about your personal branding and your content. And again, it's about quality. It's not about anything else. It's purely about quality, not about the quantity of the views or the hits or just following a trend. Actually think through what you're trying to say and how you're trying to say it, how you're trying to engage.
So what is your winning content strategy on LinkedIn? So no short posts that are clickbait. What else? How often do you post? So, what exactly do you post?
That's good, very good question. So basically we adopt a strategy for myself, obviously slightly more extreme than our clients, in that we follow LinkedIn's 411. So LinkedIn's 411 is all about one hard sell post. So if I write about LinkedIn or about Sales Navigator, and then one soft sell post, which could be about content marketing, could be about social media, and then 4 unrelated posts, which could be about things like the environment to do with business or innovation or leadership, or something about Hong Kong or something about Singapore that people are genuinely interested in. Because if all I do is post stuff about my business, then people switch off, people unfollow, people hide the feeds. And you don't even know they've hidden your feed. And I'm sure people hide my feed as well, because I'm quite aggressive when it comes to content, but that's because I'm hitting various time zones. So I've got clients in the UK, which is 8 hours behind. I've got clients in New Zealand, which is 5 hours ahead. I've got clients across the whole of Asia, which is the same time zone or 1 or 2 hours difference here and there. So you really have to think about when are people waking up? When are people on the MTR? When are people on the MRT? When are people actually going to work? When they're coming home? And often I find like Saturdays. Saturdays are great for hitting entrepreneurs. So I target entrepreneurs like myself on Saturdays, because you and I work on Saturdays, actually. Multinationals don't work on Saturdays. So the multinationals targeting people like me and you are not doing it on Saturdays. They're doing it Monday to Thursday. So if you do it on a Saturday, you get much more kind of connection and people will respond much quicker. So you have to really think about who you're targeting, about their lifestyle, about how they're using the platform, how you're engaging, and respecting them with the content you're sharing. And don't just promote your content, your own stuff all the time, your own service. Mix it up.
That's beautiful. And how many posts a day?
Well, we do about 12 a day. So we try and do it about 10 a day. But you mix it up. So every other hour we're doing it from about, I think, between 4 a.m. and about 10 p.m. Singapore time, which hits all the different time zones we want to. But we mix it up. So it's a mixture of my blogs, my videos, with curated content I'm sharing. And then I mix it up with things I will share from other people who I see on my feed. I will comment on things. I will get involved. People will tag me. So somebody tagged me yesterday because they had a very interesting question about, do you show your Mohawk? Do you show tattoos at work? Now, I have 2 tattoos, and I'm quite happy to show it at work because it's obviously my company, so I don't care. But it's very interesting people's perspective. And then somebody else said, well, what about Mohawks? And of course, I have a unique perspective on a Mohawk. But then another guy came on and said, and he had a Mohawk that was like up here. It's like, wow, that's a Mohawk. But he was saying he couldn't wear it at work because he worked for a big multinational corporation and he had to put it into a ponytail. And so it became a big problem in terms of, he has 2, and his tattoos were all removed, but basically were all hidden. And so he basically couldn't express himself because of the multinational he worked for, which I totally respect because he's chosen that career path. Whereas people like myself or you, we can wear what the hell we want, we can have tattoos anywhere we want, and we basically take the consequences and we take the hits and we take the plaudits at the same time. So it's very interesting, but they all tagged me because I obviously have a perspective on it. And it's nice to have that kind of conversation. It has nothing to do with work, but it's about personal branding, I feel. So that's what I mean about mixing it up. You should be engaging as much as anybody else. Don't just push your own stuff out there. Share other people's content. Engage. If I see a post from you, I'll share it. I'll comment on it. I'll like it. And that's what we should do. It's a sharing community in a business context. It's really, really important. You just don't just promote your own stuff all the time.
Right. And it sounds like it's a full-time job. If you're doing
it
10
is a
to
full-time
12...
job.
So how much of it are you actually doing yourself and how much of it is your team handling?
Well, obviously, my team handle, I do all the content. So that's a golden rule. I do all my content. I write my content. I produce my own content. I create my content. But in terms of my sales navigator and my messages, I have 2 other people to help me because I just can't, basically, I couldn't do it by myself. And also when I do, like last week, I was in Hong Kong having 30 meetings and doing 3 talks. You just can't possibly respond in that level. But I do all the answering. But then for our clients, we have 4 people on each account. So we have 4 people managing people's account, whether that's curated, whether that's answering posts, whether it's answering comments, whether it's connecting, sending out messages, posting blogs, creating content, taking photographs and videos from events, posting it. So it's a full-time job. That's why we have a business. It takes so much time to do it on a daily basis, actually. Literally, people go, wow, that's too much to me. I need to do it. I need to employ Chris Reed's company to do this for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Speaking from personal experience, I can tell you, I've been on LinkedIn for many years now, but actively probably for about a year. I now have about 12,000 connections, and I'm going to tell you that's a hell of a job. And I'm not posting 12 times a day. I thought I was doing a lot because I was actually posting once or twice a day, but now hearing you... I understand that it wasn't enough, and utilizing all those articles, etc. Let's go back to your huge differentiator. You have 500 recommendations on LinkedIn. That's unthinkable. I think it's the highest in the world or in Asia?
The highest in the world for a LinkedIn masterclass instructor like me or a LinkedIn marketing entrepreneur. There's a guy in America who's got, I think, 3,000. There's a couple of guys in India who've got a couple of thousand. And there's a guy in, I think in the UK who's got like 1,000. But they're not LinkedIn marketing entrepreneurs. They're not LinkedIn masterclass instructors. I differentiate and say, look, if you want to employ a LinkedIn guy, then look at how many recommendations they've got. I have the most. Look how many Power Profile Awards they've got. I am the only LinkedIn masterclass instructor in the world with Power Profile Awards. So my argument is, people say to me, I have somebody already doing my LinkedIn. And I'm going, really? And I point out all the things that are wrong with it and saying, you need to ask for a refund. I'd also ask him, has he got a book? Has he got a LinkedIn Power Profile? Because if he can't win a LinkedIn Power Profile himself, which means you've optimized your profile, how is he telling you what to do on LinkedIn? You've got to preach, you've got to talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk. And I do that by winning the awards, by having the books, by putting the content out there. I'm going out there and saying, this is what we do, but I'm backing it up with awards and accreditations and the recommendations. That's why I get so many recommendations, because actually I do know what I'm talking about. And if you're not getting that, you really have to ask yourself, what are you paying for in terms of a LinkedIn masterclass instructor or a LinkedIn trainer?
So LinkedIn recommendations, why are they so important? Apart from just having, a pretty addition to your beautiful profile and, and having all those people writing a couple of sentences. Why are they so important? Why shall we all be chasing and hunting those recommendations?
Because they're not about what you are saying, how good you are, actually. They're other people saying how good you are. And that's the core differentiation. Why do you go to TripAdvisor? You go to TripAdvisor because TripAdvisor reviews say, this hotel is great or this hotel is not. This restaurant is great or not. People need to hear what independent people actually have to say about people. So I've got 513 recommendations, people saying, 1, I was a client of his and he achieved the objectives. 2, I've seen him talk and he's fantastic. 3, this guy knows what he's talking about. So it's not just me saying, I know what I'm talking about, other people. The other fundamental problem that we have is that we never reveal our clients, ever. So we're like McKinsey. We never talk about our clients for obvious reasons. We sign confidentiality agreements.
Right.
You are never supposed to know that the person you're engaging with on LinkedIn is not them. So our clients do not want us to publicize them. And that's why it's even more amazing that I find recommendations, because these are people who are actually willing to say, actually, I'm letting the world know that Chris is actually managing my profile, but I'm recommending him anyway. Whereas half our clients do not want people to know. So it's confidential as well. So it's even more, I think, of an achievement that we've got more than 500 connections, 500 recommendations that actually said black marketing know what they're doing. Black marketing delivers on a constant basis. But it is other people telling people that you are fantastic, actually. That's the key to recommendations.
Fantastic. And that's probably the new way of putting those websites or case studies together. Because remember how a couple of years back, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it was all about the website and having those client testimonials, right? Below in your section, just thrown and sprinkled all around your website and social pages. So right now you can actually do that all in one professional place and let your clients and other people that know you professionally speak on your behalf, right? But correct. Does it actually help your algorithm? Does it help your ranking? Does it, add any other value apart from just?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's two different reasons why you need to do it. It helps the algorithm because it says to LinkedIn that actually other people are recommending you or actively engaging with you in terms of your profile. So LinkedIn then see you're actually being used, you're actually engaging, you're playing the game. So they boost you up. But it also means other people can check those people out. Because you can go through all my recommendations. You can click on those people and talk to them and say, what was it like to work with Chris? What was Chris like in terms of his talk? What was black marketing actually like? So it's phenomenally important when it comes to actually letting other people know about things and they can actually check out your recommendations. And many people do. People want case studies from us. I can't give them case studies because obviously we don't reveal anything about our clients. So I say to them, well, feel free to talk to any of my recommendations and you can click on them on my LinkedIn profile. But it also says to LinkedIn that it's I'm being used, my profile is being used, my profile is being engaged with, which helps the algorithm in terms of boosting it in terms of rankings.
Yep. And several times you mentioned LinkedIn Power Profile.
Yeah.
And what is it? Most of the people still don't know what it is. And those that know what it is, they want to know how to get there.
So LinkedIn Power Profile is what LinkedIn officially award the most engaged, most viewed profiles in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in Australia, in India, and I think now in London as well. There are 5 cities they do it in, but Singapore's been doing it for some time now. So I've won the award every single year for 7 years. There's only 2 of us in Singapore, myself and the co-founder of Redmart, which is now owned by Lazada.
Well done.
Which is now owned by Alibaba. He's the only other guy that's won it for 7 years in a row. So it's quite an achievement because normally only people who work for multinationals get the award because obviously people who work for multinationals, they get the views anyway. Whereas people like me and you, because they're famous. There's the Mandarin Oriental or the Microsoft or Cisco or whoever it happens to be, they're famous already. So basically it's easy to get the views. Whereas me and you have to fight for our views. Me and you have to fight for our engagement. We have to make extra efforts. So it's greater achievement for an SME to actually get this award, to actually be in the top 50 profiles. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the profile this year, top 50 profiles this year, Ashley.
I totally want to do that. I mean, after all these talks. So how do you get there? Now, so many people are excited. You need to be the
have a good
top
personal brand.
Okay, so top 50 in a city. Correct. That's what you get. Okay. Not by industry, by the city.
No, by city. They break it down by industry. So I've been in the marketing one in Singapore for the last 7 years, but it's all about looking at how much engagement you get, how many views you get as a result of your personal branding and your content marketing, and how many times you appear in search engines, for example, and your search appearances on LinkedIn.
And which one is a more competitive place? Is it Singapore? Is it Hong Kong?
Good question. I would say it's probably, I would say that India, by the necessary, they have 55 million people are in LinkedIn in India. It's going to be phenomenally difficult. I would say London was also going to be very difficult because there were 25 million people in the UK on LinkedIn. There were 5 million people in LinkedIn in London itself. Singapore's phenomenally competitive, but there are only 2.3 million people on LinkedIn.
Okay.
In Singapore, there are 1.8 million people in Hong Kong. So again, it's still relatively competitive. If you're the top 45 out of 2.3 million, that's still competitive. It's not as bad as top 45 out of 50 million as in India. So I would say it's probably harder the bigger the country. I would say China, India, UK are the most difficult places to do that.
Okay. So we are still in the right place. So next year, I'm totally gonna be on the LinkedIn Power Profile list. Hopefully, right? Hopefully, I'm gonna work towards it.
This year, don't wait.
This year. No. This year. That's right. This year. 2018 is my year. Yeah, well, so much information. I mean, I've got my notes here. It's like exciting, super exciting. I've got the book, I've got the notes, I'm learning about LinkedIn. I'm thrilled to apply all of that. What would be your top tips for entrepreneurs? Obviously, they need to start doing that. But for somebody who already runs a profile and they're doing a bit of everything, are there any hacks, anything that they absolutely must do, or a lot of some things that most of the people overlook, but that are actually extremely important to get that engagement?
The easiest thing to answer that question is the three basic things you need on LinkedIn is you need a headline. What's your headline? Mine's the only CEO of the Mohawk. Mine's 500 LinkedIn recommendations. Mine's entrepreneur. Mine's best-selling author. Put the headline in so people know who you are. It's your strapline. It's your brand positioning statement. Then use the background picture. So many people just don't use the background picture. It's free advertising. It's free marketing. People come to your profile and see blue. And it's like, why are you doing blue? It's a marketing vehicle. It's a premium marketing vehicle. Like that, they charge a fortune to come to you. You're just like, no, I don't want to put an image there. So you've got to do that. And then put your summary section. Your summary section's got to be your bio. It's got to be interesting. It's got to be compelling. Tell your story. Tell your achievements. What have you done? What haven't you done? What do you want to do? Then put some content there, put some videos there, humanize yourself, personalize yourself, talk about yourself, have some passion in there, put your videos of doing talks or pictures of you doing some stuff. That's the most, it's simple, and LinkedIn even tell you to do it, but so many people just don't do it, actually. It's such a shame. That's why we go around telling people to do it, because people just don't do it. 90% of people are just got terrible profiles. 90% of people got terrible profiles.
Yeah. And in terms of optimizing profiles, so they need to be using keywords, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And most of the people, it feels when they fill in their LinkedIn profile, they are still as if they are trying to get their first job. They're still using very boring titles, and it all goes like, oh, I went to school here and I'm managing 3 people and I'm da. But they actually don't explain what is it they do. Correct. Right? So it's all about keywords, and it's all about understanding who you are, right?
It's a search engine. LinkedIn's a search engine.
Do you have any tips for people that are actually using LinkedIn for sales? As you said, sales navigator, right?
Sales navigator, yes.
Very, very different from, personal branding. It has, overlapping parts because you need to build personal brand to actually communicate with people effectively. Right. But at the same time, if your primary goal is not personal branding and, huge network and status, but your primary goal is to do BD and get through to the right people, how do you do it?
Well, yeah, I disagree with you slightly there, because you do need a personal brand. Because we'd have so many people who basically complain Sales Navigator doesn't work, and I look at their profile and go, you've got 10 connections. It does not work if you have 10 connections. You have no profile, you have no picture, you have no background picture, you have no headlines. Like, of course it doesn't work. It's not going to work if you only have those connections, because it works on the basis of how many second connections and third connections you've got. If you only have 10 first connections, you're going to have only a couple of hundred second, maybe a couple of thousand third. It will not work. And then even if someone gets a message, goes to your profile, they're going to see nothing. No description, no summary, no content, no background. It's like, well, what do you do? I have no idea. Move on. So you have to look at the bigger picture. Develop your personal brand. Have a company brand that actually tells people what you actually do. Put that in your experience section. Have a content marketing strategy where you actually tell people what you do and how you can help them. Not just about what you do at that company. You see so many who's gone, I make the tea at Black Marketing. Yeah, I don't care. What does Black Marketing actually do, and how can it help me? You've got to look at it externally. People look at it inwardly and think it's an internal HR thing. It's not. It's marketing to the world. You've got 550 million professionals and Google looking at you going, what do you do? How can you help me? And people, this is why I say HR should never be allowed to look after your LinkedIn page, because HR do not understand LinkedIn, do not understand marketing. They're in HR. That's why marketing people shouldn't do HR and HR people shouldn't do marketing. These two things are separate. Let them recruit people, do the employer branding, the training and shit like that. Marketing should look after your LinkedIn profile and your page, and not just post millions of jobs, which are not very engaging. And people just think, oh no, it's an HR function. It's not. It's marketing. It's all marketing. Whether you like it or not, people are looking at your profile and making a judgment call about what you do. And the Sales Navigator part can help that. Find the right person, but they're still going to make a decision based on your profile, whether they engage with you. And that's what we do. We start with the personal branding. then do the content marketing, then do the company page, and then do the sales navigator. And only when they have more than 500 to 1,000 connections. Because it will not work if you don't have that many connections. It's just a fundamental.
Absolutely, absolutely. Last time I loved your tips about the messages that you send to people. So let's say somebody has 500 to 1,000 connections and your profile is okay. So you start messaging people and you start, saying, hello, that's who I am. And, and that's what I do. I receive those messages literally 5 times a day at minimum. And they send me those, War and Peace and Tolstoy and I don't know, just crazy story, even like Chekhov's short stories, just so long. And they try to explain what they do. I think they just copied it from their website and then they say, contact me if you need anything. I was like, what? So what, in your experience, what is the best way to, message people on LinkedIn for this first introduction? What do you say?
Very simple, very simple. So last week I was in Hong Kong. My message was really simple. The headline said, visiting Hong Kong. My second line said, basically, I would love to help you with your personal branding and LinkedIn marketing. I'm in Hong Kong next week. Do you want to meet? That's it. Simple as that. Nothing
like
more.
A text message.
Complex. Precisely. Because you've got to appreciate people are busy. They're getting messages all the time. It's just one platform for many they're managing. You need to say how you can help them, what you want to help them with, when you can meet them, and where you can meet them. And that's it. They will then make a judgment call. I need LinkedIn marketing. You're right. Chris is here. Chris is only here for 5 days. Chris seems to be an expert. Look, his credentials are in his signature down the bottom. Best-selling author, LinkedIn Power Profile, runs a business, most recommended and so forth. Okay, so I get it, but that's my signature. It's not in my top. I did not start off by saying, I've done this and I've done this. It's like, well, who gives a shit? It's only relevant if you actually want my service. So that's why it's at the bottom. So I first ask people, are you interested in developing your personal branding? If you're not, no problem at all. I even put on the bottom line is, no worries if it's not of interest to you. Because it's not of interest to everybody. And you have to respect people on that. And that's the best one. Literally, mine is literally 2 lines. And the headline is visiting Hong Kong. And it's as simple as that. Just pay attention. You're not going to sell people on LinkedIn. You're going to sell people face to face, whether it's on Skype or whether it's in person. It's a catalyst to sell. Basically, it's a catalyst to meet. It's not a catalyst to sell on the platform itself. That people don't understand. It's like, I contacted them. I offered them to buy this. If they didn't buy it, it's like, well, it's on LinkedIn. You're not going to buy someone on LinkedIn. You need to meet them. You still need to meet people. And people forget that social selling is still social. It's still physical.
No, that's a very, very important point. And I think a lot of people and salespeople and entrepreneurs also don't understand that. They're trying to do personal branding. And even for me, I mean, being busy, to be very honest, a lot of people are sending me messages on LinkedIn and saying, okay, let's meet, let's talk about this. If I don't have time and say, oh, can you speak with my team? So that's not the best approach. You actually put yourself out there. You actually go and deliver those talks and you meet people and you come to Hong Kong. You make a point that I'm here. It's the real deal. You get face-to-face time with me, be it 15 minutes or 30 minutes, but we're going to talk about your profile and I'm going to explain in detail what is it we are going to do. Correct. And that makes all the difference, right?
Totally correct. Spot on, Ashley.
Right. Now that's, I'm learning a lot. I think I need to change my approach. I need to totally change my approach. Let's talk about that limit, the 30,000 limit on LinkedIn. We see so many influencers out there in business, Gary Vaynerchuk or Richard Branson or yourself that clearly have more than 30,000 followers. So what is the difference? What is the difference between those limited connection slots and...
LinkedIn decided a few years ago you're only allowed 30,000 connections. Now, the power of connections is how I explained before about reaching into your connections. So if we connect, I get your 12,000 connections as my second connections. I get their connections as my third connections. Followers merely see your content. So they're fine, but they do not help me in terms of lead generation. I'm only interested in using LinkedIn for lead generation, social selling, engagement, how I can help somebody, how they help me back. If all we're doing is following each other's content, that's nice and everything, but it doesn't help me build a business. Whereas getting into people's connections, like you know entrepreneurs in Hong Kong, so you're useful for me. I know entrepreneurs in Singapore and in Hong Kong, so I'm useful to you. So it's a win-win. But if you're in a country I'm not targeting, like I'm not really targeting America, for example, I'm not really interested in basically connecting with you, therefore I won't connect with you. I'm interested in people in Asia and Europe, because that's where most of our clients come from. I want to connect with you so I get into your connections and your network more than I want to basically follow your content and have you follow my content, which is just basically a vanity metric.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that when you are approaching 29,999 connections?
We now have to delete people and add people all the time. So basically, we go through different countries we're not targeting, or different sectors, or different positions we're not targeting, or people who aren't active, or people who haven't got many connections, and we basically take them off my profile and we ask them to follow, and then we connect with other people who are more useful, or we met, for example, in real life. So I connect with everybody who met the Startup Grind last week. I met people, Brit Cham and Am Cham last week, and Italian Cham. So I connect with them because I've met them in real life. And that's so much better than actually, just connecting with people in a different country you never met before. And that's very good because you might meet them at some stage, but you got to look at the practicalities. The people who met with you are more likely to advocate you, more likely to work with you, more likely to recommend you than people who haven't. And that's just real life. So basically, yes, you have to be quite careful. I mean, you're not at that stage yet, but once you start getting into your 20s, actually, you have to be quite careful about who you connect with. And you need to be specific about which countries you're targeting and what you want from those people and what you can give them back. So it's a win-win situation. So don't just look at it in terms of vanity metrics. Look at it in terms of, well, how can you convert some people to followers? And then how can you basically connect with the right kind of people who help you build your business?
So how do you convert some people to followers? You connect with them first and then... Yeah, because nobody follows. You can just not accept their invitation. That's what I usually do. If I don't want to...
We write to them. We write to every single person and say, sorry, I can't connect with you. We've hit the 30,000 limits. Please, can you follow us? And some people do, some people don't. I mean, a lot of people do content. A lot of people I know basically just produce huge amounts of content, and that's how they get followers. They get something go viral and they get tens of thousands of people following, which is fine. But they're using it in different ways than I am. They're not using it for lead generation. They're using it for basically just followers to engage and to share, which is a very, very different way of doing it. But you do that just by posting huge amounts of authentic content.
And if you've been connected with a person and then you basically delete him from your connections, he will become your follower automatically or not?
No. I wish it was that easy. No. You have to basically ask them to follow you. And obviously people get really offended.
I can imagine that. That's what I thought, right? People say,
you have no choice. You want to grow a business, you have no choice. You really have no choice, unfortunately. So I'm sorry to everybody I've offended.
Yeah, well, and you have almost 60,000 followers on LinkedIn, right? Is it?
Yeah, but it's like it's not a real metric, because when LinkedIn took me down, I had 75,000 connections.
Oh.
So LinkedIn then, at the point that I had 75,000 connections, I know people with hundreds of thousands of connections who were reduced to 30,000. So they were worse off with me. It affected people in the Western world more than the Eastern world because America started LinkedIn. So I know people in America who had 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 connections, suddenly reduced to 30,000 connections. And so they were really, really annoyed. So I lost 45,000 connections. I didn't get a choice of who those connections were. Some of my friends... I know, precisely.
Really?
Some of my friends, they basically did it. The first 30,000 you connected to, they kept. The rest, they didn't. It's like, well, from my perspective, I actually want the last 45,000 rather than the first 30,000. So I've had to reconnect. I'm still finding people. Oh, I thought we were connected. Why have I not seen your feed? Oh, we're not connected anymore. And we're not connected because basically LinkedIn removed it and I haven't reconnected with this person because I didn't know I was not connected with them. And so so they were supposed to convert these people to followers, and not everyone became a follower. And not everyone wants to follow you, and it's like, I just wish they'd remove the limit, but they do it for, I don't know what reasons, technical reasons. They don't want someone, I got told the other day by someone who knows, or says they know, that it's because they do not want one person to have more influence over too much of the network, so they would control too much of the network. So for example, if I built my connections up to say 1 million, I could effectively target or connect with every single person out of the 550 million people in the world. So I know how because I already know that I can reach 95% of people in Hong Kong, 95% of people in Singapore, in Zurich, in London, in Sydney, in Perth, because I'm deliberately targeting and connecting to people who are entrepreneurs who have lots of connections. So if I can do that with 30,000 connections, imagine what power I might have with 250,000 or 1 million. That's why I got told that LinkedIn has said, no, you're going to have too much power. We're going to make sure you only ever have 30,000. So I got told that.
And when was that? How long ago was that?
That was 2-3 years ago.
So 3 years ago. I also loved your example last time we spoke about it. You actually tried to, hack the algorithm. You actually tried to, be a middle-aged woman from Shanghai.
I was not a middle-aged woman. I was a very sexy, glamorous 25-year-old woman.
Okay. A sexy 25-year-old.
Yes. Why would I be a middle-aged woman, Ashley?
I do not know. It just was in my head when you said you were a woman from Shanghai. I just imagined that middle-aged woman to be very different from who you are. Well, who knows? But how were you discovered? What happened? Tell us that story.
Because LinkedIn have a team of people who go around basically removing second profiles, fake profiles, which is absolutely fine. I get it. But they put me in the position whereby they'd said you can't have these connections, and I'm thinking, well, how do I? My dream was to have 30,000 connections in Singapore, another profile in Hong Kong, another profile in Shanghai, all had 30,000 connections, which would then make sense from a strategic and a geographic point of view, but they wouldn't let me do it. So I tried it twice. I tried a profile in Hong Kong, wouldn't do it. Tried a woman in Shanghai, wouldn't do it. I gave up.
So you just gave up, right? Okay. Another reason people connect and want to get those, to a certain number of connections is because they just want a database, right? LinkedIn is one of a very few social networks that actually give you that option. You can export the whole list of, the whole database, the whole list of emails. So what is, in your view, the proper way to use that email database, and what is not appropriate?
Well, you see, I would say you shouldn't use the database at all. I would say that actually we don't advise people to do that for several different reasons. First of all, if I take your email address from LinkedIn, it's normally your personal email address, which normally means it's normally a Gmail, a Yahoo, or a Hotmail. Now, if I create an entire database based on that, and I mail it out using something like MailChimp, you know where that's going to go? It's not going to go to your primary inbox. It's going to go to your spam folder or your promotions folder or your updates folder, which means the person will not see it. So it defeats the object to me, because also if you mail that person and then that person does not know who you are, so it just says, this has come from Chris Reed. It's like, well, we don't know Chris Reed. There's no LinkedIn profile. There's no joint connections. There's no shared connections. There's no content marketing. Whereas LinkedIn, I mail them. My headline is there. They can click on it and they can see, okay, we have 400 shared connections. Oh, yeah, Chris's profile, Chris's company. Oh, yeah, Chris stacks up. Whereas an email, it could be from anyone about anything. You have no idea. So why would you move from LinkedIn, where you built up your personal brand and your content marketing, to scraping an email and sending out spam to somebody in order to lose all that effort you put into your personal branding and content marketing and company page? For what? Because you control the email. So to me, we advise people not to do it. I don't do it. I don't see the point of doing it. I trust LinkedIn to basically message people because it goes to the normal box. There's no spam folder. A copy of it goes to their mail, which might well go to their promotions folder or the updates folder or whatever. But at least they potentially see it twice. Whereas actually their personal email, they probably will never ever see that message. So why do it?
That's a very good point. I would say a lot of people spend their time hunting for those emails, and then it ends up again exactly in the wrong hands. Yeah. I actually once, maybe a year and a half ago or something, when I just started putting a lot more effort on LinkedIn, I actually exported my database and I also added into our newsletter. We selected some. We didn't just, take everybody and all my, let's say, former colleagues and spammed. But I remember that particular guy, and he was very relevant to what we were sending out, and it was not promotion. So this one guy, he was in marketing and he was like working with China and social, blah, blah, blah. And we basically sent out an email with news. It was a news digest. Some new thing came out on, let's say, WeChat, blah, blah. And then he messages me on LinkedIn, super angry, and goes like, why are you spamming? And you know that this is illegal, and he is apparently Canadian, living in Hong Kong, but he is Hong Kongese, but used to live in Canada. And he goes like, if you were in Canada, you would. I was so shocked. So people can also overreact if you use it, right?
that, and also because in all seriousness, actually, the new laws in Europe, the GDPR laws, means that you can't do this anymore. Because you can mail them on LinkedIn because they've opted into LinkedIn to say, please message me. If you take that email outside of LinkedIn and message them without their permission, in Europe now, you'll target them and they happen to be in Europe, they can now come after you and fine you millions of dollars and put you in jail for doing that.
So guys, no more taking LinkedIn emails and messaging people from Europe, because they are going to try to sue you for millions of dollars. Scary stuff.
And Australia's the same. I'm not sure about Hong Kong, but Singapore has various laws about it. But EU, that's the hardest one. The GDPR laws that come into power this May in Europe are going to affect every single person who mailed someone in Europe without their permission. That's why, I don't know if you've seen, but Manchester United, who have like 1 billion people on their database, have been spending millions of dollars in advertising on their picture saying, if you want to still be contacted by us after May, you have to opt in. Even Manchester United are now desperate. They're going to lose 500 million people who basically opted in by mistake or don't even know they're opted in because they're not opted in. You bet their database will go down from like 1 billion to about 100 million because people do not know and do not want spam. And now they have the choice in Europe. But Man United now know that, and everyone now knows that who has any sense. And people who don't know, they need to look at the GDPR laws. If you want to target Europe, do not do it outside if you have not got someone's permission to do so.
LinkedIn and only LinkedIn. I mean, that's very, very clear. Another question is, so you're working across Singapore, you're working across Hong Kong and UK.
World, actually.
The whole world, but LinkedIn primarily. I mean, you're traveling across, those countries. Do you see any differences the way people use the platform, let's say just between Hong Kong and Singapore? How do they use it differently? And what can we learn from each other?
Very good question. Yes, very different. You have lots of cultural nuances in Asia, lots of cultural nuances. So in Singapore and Asia and Hong Kong, people don't necessarily want to promote themselves as much as maybe an expat will or an American will, for example, or someone from the West. So I use the quote from James Blunt, which basically says, I'm self-deprecating because I'm English. If I was American, I would tell you how great I was. And that's so true about LinkedIn. LinkedIn, full of Americans saying I'm fantastic, which is part of their culture, part of their ethos, part of their way they were brought up. English people like myself, Asians, Aussies, Kiwis, much more reserved, much more, we did it's a team effort, we work together. And Singapore is very much like that, it's collective. We have problems here in terms of government organizations where we're trying to get their CEO on LinkedIn. They don't want to be they're on LinkedIn. They do not want to be the face of that company. They think it's a collective, it's a team thing. But the trouble is that does not work on LinkedIn. You don't follow companies on LinkedIn, you follow people on LinkedIn. In places like Korea and Japan, if you're on LinkedIn, and basically people think you're looking for a job. They don't realize it's personal branding. They don't see it as social selling. They think, he's looking for a job. So they don't go on LinkedIn. So expats over here have a bit more, they have nothing to lose. Like I have nothing to lose. I'm out there going, look at me, come and see my company. I'm using social media because it's free marketing, it's free advertising, it's free engagement. I'm giving something to people and people are coming to me. So I'm quite happy to put it out there. But I'm obviously an extrovert like you are. I'm quite happy to be out there. Other people are not like that. So our job is to bring people up, particularly female executives, for example, female entrepreneurs. We work with lots of female entrepreneurs who are more reserved, more self-aware, less arrogant. And we help them say, well, look, you're as good as anybody else, if not better. We'll help you get on the front page of that newspaper or get on the front on that radio or that TV place or get you promote your LinkedIn. And yes, you do have to promote yourselves harder on LinkedIn because by the nature of kind of the world, you're still not seen as an equal, for example, even if you're even better than a male. So we help people actually say, I'm better than the people around me. And this is why. And that's very important. You can do that through content marketing, and you can do that through personal recommendations and so forth. So, but it is, lots of nuances between the sexes, between the countries, and between the cultures, actually.
That's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Chris. I think female entrepreneurs definitely need to start putting themselves out there more and more. And my journey in the past year and a half is a fantastic example of that. In a year and a half, my business grew so many, times. And I also achieved so much and done so much. And I'm having so much fun just because, I was always afraid. What would people say and how would they judge? And, and it's every person is afraid to be judged. And we all don't want to be disliked, right? And that's this barrier that keeps us from putting ourselves out there and doing personal branding on LinkedIn or any other social platform. But by doing this, you just reap so many benefits. And I would definitely encourage all women in business and running big corporations and longing for successful career, get on LinkedIn, get out there, start writing blogs, get inside of all these platforms and just go get the guys as well. Yep. Chris, the last question for today is tell us very quickly about your company and what exactly do you help clients to do? Shameless plug of your business. Why shall entrepreneurs, why shall people in Hong Kong, Singapore, UK and globally use those services?
So we have 4 different businesses, as you can see. So we have Black Marketing, which does LinkedIn marketing and social selling. It takes over your LinkedIn profile. We have Dark Art, which basically does personal branding beyond LinkedIn, but we amplify it on LinkedIn. So we get a lot of female authors, a lot of best-selling authors, a lot of celebrity chefs, presenters, and non-executive directors. out in the Business Times or Financial Times or Channel News Asia or on events or winning awards or getting a best-selling book, but we exploit it on LinkedIn. We have Mohawk marketing, which basically does TripAdvisor. And then we take it for entrepreneurs who actually own holiday homes or villas or restaurants or bars or leisure venues. And we use the reviews on TripAdvisor and put them on LinkedIn. Because LinkedIn has all the power for the money. And people think, don't even use great reviews on TripAdvisor on LinkedIn, where all the B2B money, or the MICE money, or the corporate hospitality money is on LinkedIn. So we use the TripAdvisor reviews and put them on LinkedIn. Then we use Sales Navigator to then mail these out saying, look at these great reviews. You need to book your event here or come with corporate hospitality here. And then the fourth brand is my masterclass brand, which is Chris J. Reed Mastery. So that basically does masterclasses for on LinkedIn for multinationals. It does talks for non-profits. It does talks for associations. Literally, we have a 45-minute talk. We have a 3-hour talk. We have a 90-minute talk. So different kind of masterclasses and different price for each of the masterclasses. So yeah, there's our beautiful 4 brands.
So LinkedIn marketing, being sorted, personal branding, and then of course TripAdvisor, B2B marketing, which is amplified on LinkedIn, and then master classes. Yeah. Guys, everything and anything you need for LinkedIn, you now know a person to go to. Chris is absolutely fantastic. He's a personal friend. I know him personally. I know him from LinkedIn. I've seen his profile, and if you have not yet, you must. Thank you very much, Chris, for being with us today. We learned so much. It was absolutely fantastic. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to Ashley Talks podcast and visit and see more amazing people coming in talking about female entrepreneurship, marketing, personal branding, and Asia. See you next time.
You've been listening to Asia Tech Podcast. Find out more at atp.show.